I don't know if anyone out there is interested in this, but I actually have a gift for you. This is how I wrap my gifts, just in trash bags.
Double trash bag, it must be.
Wow, it's a big item.
Very nice.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the next Critique the Community. Today we're going to be critiquing 10 portraits submitted to the Fstoppers community. But if you would like to be a part of the next contest, it starts right now, and we are going to be focusing on unique lighting. So It could be strobe light, it could be natural light. We just want it to be different. So we want to see something that's, you know, that we haven't seen 1,000 times before.
And it's open to all genres?
Yeah, any genre.
So it could be a landscape interesting lighting or portrait interesting lighting?
I suppose so, anything goes, but it better be interesting. We don't want to see the same old stuff. And for prizes, this is pretty cool. ProPhoto has given us $2,500 in their new lighting modifiers. They've created this new softbox system where the speed ring is built in. So if you've used a normal speed ring with the sticks, you're trying to stick one in and the other one's falling out, and it's, you know, it's such a slow process. Now the speed ring is always attached. You just flip it back and the softbox opens up permanently. We have, like I said, $2,500 worth of these different modifiers. We're gonna be splitting those between first and second place. You can check all that out at fstoppers.com/contest. Third place is going to get a free tutorial from the Fstoppers store. And we're gonna keep up the tradition of doing a heavy discount on one of our tutorials. This time it is illuminating the face with Peter Hurley. We did this tutorial years ago with him, and we basically stuffed his studio with every lighting modifier that we could get from B&H. And we did A/B testing so that you guys can see exactly what every type of modifier does. If you wanna know what like the inside material of a softbox changes about the light, or what about a small source but closer, or a large source further away? Does it look the same?
Beauty dish and a mola light, like we had everything.
Yeah, and I think not only did we teach a lot in this tutorial, but we also learned a lot.
Yes.
And we have been selling this tutorial for $300 for years. You can buy it right now for just $49. So you can check that out in the link below. Let's go ahead and get to this critique. This is in no particular order here. I just picked out 10 images that I personally found the most interesting. We will determine the winners at the end of this critique.
Okay.
This image was taken by Dennis L. There's not really much to say about this in terms of, you know, setup or anything. It's pretty straightforward, but I really liked this image. I just felt like her shirt fit perfectly, and it stood out to me.
Is it fitting? I don't know. The contrast is nice, maybe.
Yeah, I just felt like it was a unique take on a portrait, you know, cutting off 3/4 of somebody's face, but it's still being a portrait of somebody. I like how contrasty it is. I like the symmetrical lighting, you know, from just directly above. I love the shadow being cast by that hat on her face. I love that you can just see a hint of her nose in that shadow. And like I said, her shirt looks great.
Yeah. You ready to rate this?
3, 2, 1.
You're going 4?
Yeah, you're going 3? I don't know, maybe it is a 3.
I agree with the lighting. Like, the problem I have with this is the composition is still throwing me off. I feel like the subject matter is her neck. And then from her neck, well, it goes a little more south. And then you get the hard edge under her chin and her eyes, which I think are the coolest part of this. But I just want the frame to be moved up. That's my first kind of issue. And that maybe is why you like the image.
No, I know what you're saying. It is kind of an awkward crop. So if her shirt was closed, you would be like, why is the camera tilted down so low? That's a weird angle.
Sure.
But because you can see most of her chest, you're like, oh, the photographer just cropped right under.
But even then, my eye keeps going to the first and second button. Like it's going, I don't know if it's the leading lines or what, but it is drawing me right to the middle of the frame. And then I look down and then I look up. And I feel like that is a weird way to read any photograph with this subject matter, is to go to her like neck area.
You're right, I do find myself looking there as well. The other thing I joked about the shirt fitting so well, but in a way the shirt doesn't fit well at all. It's like the photographer's shirt.
Probably.
And he's like, hey, throw this on real quick. And so it's kind of working because the hat and the hair and the makeup are so perfect. But you know, you got the suspender going over one of the collars and everything. It feels like the top half of this is perfectly put together, and then the bottom half was just thrown together in 2 seconds and not much thought was given to it. So.
What's tough about an image like this, though, is it's sort of super cliche, and in the world that we live in now with Instagram and AI photography now, everything's got to be at such a high level, right, to really grab someone's attention. And for me, this just kind of feels like if your client sees this in your portfolio, you better be a boudoir photographer, or maybe this could be like an album cover or something, but it just is immediately leading down into this guy is a dude with a camera that shoots like half-naked girls. That's what
He's living the dream.
That's what it feels like, you know, and that's not necessarily what this guy does, but like that's immediately kind of the vibe that I get. And I keep thinking if this was like Ariana Grande or whoever, like this would be, if this is the new Taylor Swift cover, like this would be a great image, right?
Yeah.
You would say like, wow, what a cool shot. But it's not a celebrity. The lighting is awesome. Like this is a test shoot that you could definitely take on to that higher end shoot, you know, but does it belong in your portfolio? Maybe with a little bit more of a crop or something, I think it could, but.
Well, you gave it 3. 3 is supposed to be a solid image for your portfolio.
I think it is still a solid image. It's just, it depends on what that portfolio is.
That's fair.
If you're aiming towards normal portraiture in your like community, I think this could be a little off-putting, maybe. Especially, I just imagine a portfolio like this has tons of images like this, and immediately you start to say like, it's the guy who shoots half-naked hot girls.
Yeah.
If it's the only one, then maybe it does have a place and it kind of shows a little edge or something, and it shows your lighting style. But those are the two things, the composition, and then I feel like it's like the sexy thing, you know, and that doesn't always do it for me.
Next up. All right, this image was taken by, is that Janos Lakatos. It was captured last year of his actor friend in his living room. Originally, I edited to black and white, but recently I reimagined with dual lighting. It's added in Photoshop by a gradient map. Very interesting. You know I had to choose this one because it had the weird colors. I always ruin all of my portraits by over-processing them.
So is he saying that this is, if you zoom in here, is he saying that this is masked out or it is two gelled lights blending?
No, it's all done in Photoshop.
Okay, I can kind of see that here. I mean, it feels like that in the eyebrow, right?
It does. Yeah, when it's mixing. Honestly, I would not have noticed that, but yeah, it feels a little fakey.
But if this was cleaned up just a little bit, either with a harder line or blended a little smoother, it does make you kind of think that like, sometimes as photographers, we think we have to do it this way in camera and like gel the two lights. But I mean, I've talked about AI so much in the past. It is opening my ideas on like what is possible and why do we even care? Why not just shoot this with natural light, you know, natural colored light, 5,000 Kelvin, change the white balance in 2 different frames, stack them on top. It's like, who cares, you know, especially if it's passable.
So I have this ridiculous hot sauce business, and I'm about to release a product for the masses.
Okay.
And I've got like a prototype in a box and everything, and I don't have like a finished prototype yet, but I've started doing photography of it just to run some tests and stuff for all these ads I have to build. And so I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go pay for a, what's the AI photo generating software, like the best one?
Stable Diffusion? Or
that you do in Discord.
Midjourney?
Midjourney, yeah. So I signed up for Midjourney, and I just start typing in, you know, like hot sauce splashing in, you know, orange liquid, wine bottle exploding, top, you know. And the stuff it's coming up with is like world-class product photography. So then I just take my product, cut it out. I go into Photoshop, I just highlight whatever bottle Midjourney made. And I just hit generative fill, I type nothing, I just hit go, and it just deletes the bottle out, but it leaves all the splashes, it leaves all the reflections, it leaves all the shadows. And then I just plop my photographed bottle in there, and it's like the best product photography I've ever done. And the other night I went through and I made 30 unique product images that are totally different. Like each one would have taken me a day to create. Yeah. I did 30 in approximately 3 hours. And soon, you won't even have to have the real photograph of the bottle. You'll just be able to take photos or video with your iPhone and be like, put this in this scene where this is exploding or whatever, and we're in trouble, man.
Like, you know how to do all of that because you're a photographer who's done it manually, but the barrier to have no skill whatsoever.
It's so close.
I mean, the backplate, no skill. You literally found some stuff, made some stuff with some keywords, and then remove with generative fill, which required you typing in no prompt at all, just enter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited because it makes our lives so much easier when you have another end game. You're trying to sell a product.
Right.
You've gone through all the effort of making something that's not photography related, but you know what needs to be done from the photographic standpoint. But it is horrifying to think if your end game is the photography itself.
You know, why would anyone pay?
I go to any website now, CNN, and it's like all of the ads are generative, like they're AI ads. It's all bodybuilders and like bars. Come to our restaurant, and it's like fake people.
I go on Facebook, and my whole feed is just fake AI photos.
It's already here.
And the thing, I can tell, and a lot of times on Facebook, it's like absurd stuff, and that's why it's getting clicked on. But with these ads, I've done this deep dive because I'm about to sell in stores and on Amazon and everything, and so I'm looking at all my competitors, and because I had this feeling like, do I want to use AI generated images in my ads? Like, are people going to pick it up or whatever? You know. But then I start looking at everybody else's ads, and I'm like, this may not be AI generated, but it's the shittiest Photoshop I've ever seen. Yeah. It looks horrible. My images that I'm doing in 5 minutes with Midjourney are like 100 times better, and I don't think the average person can tell that it's AI.
Or are they going to know it's AI and feel like it's a scammy product because something feels too good about it? I mean, you're aiming for a luxury brand.
I mean, if that's the case, then every quality brand is screwed because their advertising looks good.
Well, that's where the name comes in. You know Jack Daniels, and so if it's a Jack Daniels ad with crazy, I mean, the stuff on TV now is crazy. I don't know. We're getting way off topic here, but I think this is, in some ways, the main conversation a lot of our audience is having.
Yeah, the bottom line is that if you're trying to do photography professionally, it doesn't matter how you got the image. The finished image is all that matters. The client doesn't care if it took you 10 minutes or 10 hours. They just want something that's going to get this guy jobs.
Yeah.
Or, make him more famous. Or sell Jack Daniels if he's, the owner, whatever it might be. And so I think as photographers, a lot of times we try to get it right in camera, but I just don't know that the average client cares. Have we rated this yet?
No.
3, 2, 1. 3 stars. I think it's pretty good. I'm not blown away by it. I think maybe I want to see a more interesting background or something.
I wonder, as imagery is easier to create for everybody with more digital cameras, with your phone, with AI, does our scale kind of get a little ruined? Like, what is solid versus world class? Like 10 years ago, this might have been a 4. But does the scale change as time goes on when this is kind of a dull image, like in 20 years?
I know, it will have, yes. Yeah, I mean, dude, if you showed me this in 1980, you'd be like, what?
I'm just thinking when we first started picking up cameras, like the hot guy was Joey L, because he was so young. Joey L's like 16 and he's going to Africa with a camera, and, but like, or Jeremy Cowart, he would shoot this kind of stuff and you would see it and be like, man, that's awesome. But now, like, has it kind of lost its appeal?
Yeah, every day it's losing its appeal.
That's wild to because you've worked so long to be able to do this kind of stuff, and then to find that like it may be a commodity, like it may be so commonplace now that it's not as valuable, it's not as exciting. Like, are photos even exciting anymore? It's got to be video. Can't be video anymore. It's got to be shorts. It's got to have a narrative. It's like crazy. I don't know. We're living in a very strange time when it comes to what grabs our attention and what's monetizable and digestible. I don't know. It's is there anything to say more about this?
No,
I wish the blending was a little bit more subtle.
I feel like his two fists are a little forced. It doesn't feel genuine to me.
Yeah.
His pose doesn't feel real. It feels like posy for a portrait.
Yeah.
Next up. Now, you and I are both very much against spot coloring images.
Well, Yes, historically, 9 times out of 10.
But
Well, I mean, to me, this jumps out and looks so cool, and it looks like it would be a movie poster on Netflix. You know, like this is the cigarette swindler or something. You know, like this guy, you know, fooled more women on Tinder than I don't know what it would be. You know,
and I just realized I made a mistake. This is taken by
the same
guy.
Okay,
Yeah,
so he gets them back to back.
Screwed up.
We try not to.
I know. I specifically was like, I swear I've seen this name before, and I went back and double checked before I added this, and somehow I made a mistake. But he snuck 2 in here. I chose the other one because it was one of the higher rated images in the critique, and I like it. This one specifically stood out to me.
I like this one more.
I like it more too. And it's very strange because it's the reverse of what you always see where the subject is in color and then everything else is black and white.
Yeah.
But it's just the smallest hint of color.
Yeah.
And such a unique crop with that smoke going up.
Yeah.
I just love this image.
I do too. And it's making me question everything that I've thought previously about spot coloring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the dramatic lighting, just the right amount of the clarity slider to kind of give you that gritty look.
Yeah.
There's nothing like cheesy going on where the blue jeans are still blue, but he's black and white.
That would have ruined it.
It's stuff like that
would've
that
ruined
definitely like would make me pass. And then, like you said, I love the composited, you know, smoke trail or however that was in there. I feel like that just adds the framing because without that, then it's kind of like that first image where the crop is really, really weird, you know?
Yeah.
I love the guy's attitude. He's also like, his physique is really cool because he's not this like jacked, ripped guy who all of a sudden, like, I kind of hate photography where it's like the guy from the gym who's like super ripped.
Mm-hmm.
It just pulls me out of it and it feels like weird casting many times, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he's also not like, he kind of rides
still
that.
in good shape.
Yeah, he rides that line where it kind of looks like
He's
maybe.
like, I don't have to work out. I'm just naturally attractive.
Exactly. It's almost like he could be into drugs or something, and he's living life on the edge, and he's that character.
Sure.
And I don't know. I find that more interesting than if he had a horrible physique or he was super ripped. He's like, I don't know. The other thing too with an image like this is it kind of gives your audience a vision of what the final product or vision could be. You're acting a little bit more than a photographer and more like an art director, and you're saying like, I'm capable of taking it to that next step. You know, like I'm capable of making something that has this contrast and this color and this crop. Like everything comes together to where this is almost ready for text and just to go out the door. Where sometimes the other images, like compare this to the very first image of the girl. Mm-hmm. Like I'm having a hard time seeing text over this or what is it selling or it doesn't give me anything like what this does, you know?
All right, let's rate it. 3, 2, 1.
I'm like between a 3 and a 4. You give it a 4?
Yeah, I give it a 4. I like it. It stands out. Next up. This one is taken by Janos H. This was just like a classic, beautiful portrait. Some of the other ones didn't feel quite as timeless as this one, so this one really stood out to me. I wanted to include it.
Okay. I think I'm ready. As ready as I'm going to be.
3, 2, 1. I'm going 4 on that one. You went 3. I like it. I mean, I think I would say this is far more timeless than the last one. The last one won me over, but it still is spot colored and photoshopped and, you know, a little. It could look cheesy in a few months. It could look cheesy in a few years. This one, I feel like will always look like a solid, beautiful portrait.
Yeah, I have a hard time finding anything to really say. It's just, this genre feels kind of common to me, and like if you sent your daughter to this photographer or your wife or your family and they could always pull off this kind of look, that would be kind of cool to have family portraits done in this way from like an advertising standpoint. And I know that's not fair to the photographer. Maybe he's not or she is not an advertising photographer. But it just kind of feels like this isn't the type of image that I normally see going through magazines and TV. Sure. This is the type of image that I see on a photographer's portfolio that is very stylized to look like this whole kind of mini genre that the general public's not aware of. I don't think there should be really anything wrong with that. You know, I'd probably be guilty of making an image like this too. I think it's fine. It's nice. Like, her pose is really solid, and the flowers, like a little nice kind of feminine touch that just kind of brings it together. This isn't like overly sexualized, which I think we see so many people do in this style. It's nice. It's a 3. I don't know what else to really say. If you have a whole portfolio of this, I think you could make a business shooting direct to customer. I don't know that you're going to reach bigger brands necessarily with this style, but maybe that's fine. You have this as a side portrait business, and then you do other things too.
Next up, this one was a little different than all the others. Taken by Stefan Ari Stefansson. He said, a portrait of my friend who does Viking reenactments.
Does he say where this was shot?
He does not.
We are about to go up in the Nordic area, the home of the Vikings. We have a wedding in Sweden. I don't know if we say who it is or not, but
You can probably guess.
we have a friend who's getting married in Sweden, and then we're trying to hit up all these other countries up there next month. And a lot of the stuff I'm researching on what to do with like kids and stuff, a lot of it's like Viking related, you know. So maybe this is the photo shoot your son can do, you know. You can get him in the outfit and the axe, and I have a hard time with this one too.
I have a very hard time with this one. There's aspects of it that I'm like are pretty good. Like, it seems like the outfit is pretty high quality. A lot of times you see this cosplay stuff and it just looks so bad. I feel like this looks good. His axe looks a little sparse, I feel like.
Yeah.
But, and it's a cool location, you know, maybe it fits, but something about this feels amateurish to me. There's just, I can't put my finger on it, but something about this just doesn't feel as professional.
Does it bother you, or do you think that this is like, is this trying to be a portrait, or is this trying to be a landscape photo? Because I keep wanting to like zoom in and not make it about the landscape, and maybe like you have all this styling that went into this guy, right? An insane amount of styling. But then
And
he's
it's
just
backlit, it's so hard to see.
He's just backlit and small, and then you got this crazy structure above him. I had an argument with Pi recently during a shootout that like you have to show everything because it's there, and he's like, yes, you have to. But I'm thinking like if you zoom in or crop it just slightly and make it more about him, you obviously know there's some crazy island behind him. Like, but I do like the top of this little island as well. Like, I don't know. Like,
Part of me wants to say, just with the genre of this, I'm always going to say it looks kind of amateurish. But I watched Game of Thrones like everybody else, and I never watched Game of Thrones and felt like, oh, this feels really cheesy. Like, no, it felt like every aspect of the lighting and the costumes and everything felt super high end. What is it about this? Is it the fact, like, I like backlit portraits, but is it the fact, like, maybe this lens is kind of like hazing out a little bit?
could it just be like a combination of everything? Like, do you like the hair being backlit and blowing forward? Like, is that little element?
I do like, I mean, if that wasn't there, it would look way worse. If he just had like a buzzed haircut and no flowy hair, that would be way worse.
No, I'm just thinking, should the hair flow back? I don't know. It's just like little things like the splash and the hair blowing forward.
And maybe the pose is a little contrived as well. Are you ready to rate this?
I think for this genre, sure.
3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Okay.
Again, it's like, what portfolio does this belong in?
That's my point.
If this is a cosplay or a Viking, maybe?
You know, if you're a professional Viking photographer, this is
I think,
a 4.
like, and maybe I'm super biased with this, I just want to push this into, like, the sports, you know, adventure, edgy sort of thing, you know? Like, he is dressed like a Viking. I want there to be kicker lights, and I want the background to be underexposed, and I want him to be popping. I want it to just look like action.
And him dressed like a Viking?
Yeah, yeah.
See,
Where
I don't
this
think,
is a little
I don't
too.
think that
This is
was
like
gonna work.
This is like a little too natural light. This is like putting.
But that's the whole thing. Is it supposed to be hundreds of years ago?
I know, but it's like putting Freddy Krueger outside in the daylight sun. That's not the shot of Freddy Krueger I want to see. I feel like seeing
No, that's a bad example because Freddy Krueger doesn't live on a cliff like this, but this guy does.
Yeah, but this type of photography, even though it's natural light, it's photography. It's only 100, 150 years old. It's like a modern capture of something so far in the past, there's already a disconnect, I feel like.
No.
You're saying this is what it would look like if the Viking was standing there and somebody had a modern camera and the know-with-all
he's
light.
in his natural habitat.
Maybe.
He's about to rape and pillage.
This is the one where everyone out there is going to be like, what are these idiots talking about?
There's always one. Let's go. Next
There's
up.
always one.
Man, this one, so I said I didn't want to put two photos from the same photographer. Well, this one was taken by Timu Andres. And I wasn't going to put this one in here because Timu has the highest rated image from the community, which is another image that I don't even really like that much. But I was like, I'll put the highest rated in.
But to be fair with what you're about to say, though, it is kind of nice when you just say, I like this image, this should go in the critique, and then you find out afterwards that it's from another photographer already in the critique.
But that's what always happens.
It's the merit of the image,
but
right?
But every time, because we allow you people to upload 3 images, if somebody's image is awesome, it's like a 50% chance they uploaded 2 other incredible images, so a lot of times I'll accidentally include 3. Anyway. Timu has the highest rated image. This is not it. But when I saw this, I was like, I like this way better than the other one he submitted. I have to include this. This is one of my favorite.
The suspense. So he has another image about to show up that's the highest.
The highest rated of the whole thing.
There's a spoiler, but I'm curious to see what it is.
Yeah.
So I immediately want to compare this image to the image of the girl's back. It's in that style. But kind of ironically, it's like, I don't know, is this like medieval or mid-century? It's kind of like the Viking guy too. Like it's got elements that kind of place it. But I'll go ahead and say, this is my favorite of all those images. Like there's something about her expression.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, not something, like it's all about her expression.
Yeah, it's
the
so
fact that she's got a skull in her hands, like the background is that painterly background, but it's also got, real foliage. Like it's just, it's so cool.
Yeah, he doesn't explain. He says he ordered a replica of a human skull and wanted to do a photo shoot with it. That was his whole concept. And then he just said, he used softboxes and he lit it or edited it in Photoshop. He doesn't mention what's going on in that background, but I love that. I mean, this looks like the Mona Lisa or something.
Yeah, it's got that toning.
Her hands are posed so well. It's like that, perfect Renaissance, relaxed. And then her posture is so relaxed and everything. And then that stare is so good.
What is she saying to you in this photo?
Well, the title of this photo, he's named it "Me and My Future Self." So, when you think of it like that, she's making.
I don't read that at all. He's saying the title is "I Will Soon Be Deaf Too."
Yeah.
I don't read that at all. I read that as either I am a person in power and this will be you if you cross me, like she's the queen, or I read it as like she's lost love in some gross way, like she's holding her lover and like there will be revenge for this,
Well, so I mean,
but that's cool. There's three immediate different views. You might have something totally different from your point of view, but like
I see a hint of sadness in her face that you aren't explaining in those 2 examples you just gave.
If this is her lover, then there is a sadness, but there's also a revenge.
There's like a sadness and anger all at the same time in her face, worry. I don't know. I just feel like this is the most interesting photo by far. And I just keep coming back to it, and every time I just keep staring at her face, and she's freaking me out, and I love it.
But the expression she's not really giving, that is probably the expression I would have gotten out of her, is why is this photographer making me hold this skull? Like the one that breaks the barrier in the wall, and you're like, but there's something about this image where you could say it's kind of a historical piece, it's kind of the cosplay, there's all of those like photographic genres. But this also has the same thing that some of the previous images had, where this could be a movie poster. Like this is something that's promoting an image. Like it transcends into a commercial world, where this image I don't think really does that. The girl's back, and then if you go to, all of the ones that we've seen so far, this just feels way more polished and interesting. I don't know what else to say. We haven't rated this, right?
Let's go. 3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 4 and a 5 on this one.
I should go 5, so you can go 4, and then it lands.
But
What a cool photo.
yeah, I mean, the community rated this 3.02.
Wow, our community's crazy.
Hey, you guys are crazy. All right, next up. This one was taken by Dan Francis. And Dan, he also had some really cool portraits, and I almost accidentally included multiple of his submissions in this critique. I had to delete them out.
This is one of those images where there's just some quality to it that I want amped up to make this like the same reaction I got from the previous image. The subject matter is cool. It's different. Who takes a portrait of somebody in front of a chalkboard like this? Like, it's got all this stuff, but it doesn't have, I've been talking a lot about movie posters in this video. It doesn't have that where I'm like, that's the cover for the teacher or the professor or whatever it is, you know? And so I'm trying to figure out why I feel that way. Is it his expression? He's like wide-eyed with a somber look.
I mean, that's interesting to me. He's got a super interesting face. What do you think about the lighting? A lot of the pictures that we've seen so far have been very soft lighting. This one is abnormally hard, while at the same time having weird fall off. Like, his face is bright and then his jacket and his hands go dark pretty quickly, which is pretty strange for hard light.
I mean, you don't think there's like a spot grid or a
That's what it
reflector
seems
dish or
like,
something?
yeah.
The light's fairly close to allow that. I mean, I like that. I think I would like this less if he was lit really brightly, because I don't think his clothes and hands are really the subject matter.
Yeah, he had 2 lights, one flash to the left of the camera with a grid. So that's what's lighting up his face and not his hands. And then the second light, one behind very dimly to just separate the person from the equations.
Do you want to see more of like a color grade on this or something that just kind of like, this feels very straight out of the camera, which in some ways is nice because it shows like he's capable, but I just want to see that extra little polish that, you know, this one doesn't feel straight out of the camera at all.
No. Let's rate it. 3, 2, 1. 3 stars. It's a solid image. Interesting crop. Just a really interesting guy. And I don't know. It works for me. It's not blowing me away. And that's why I'm only giving it 3. Next up. Now, we've seen this image before, haven't we?
Have we?
I feel like I've seen it before. This was taken by Hanny Honeymoon.
That is a name there. That's like Dixie Dixon. It just has that ring to it, you know?
Honeymoon's even crazier. For lighting, 1 main light with a beauty dish and a small rim light. Used Photoshop for basic cleanup and color grading. I mean, this looks amazing. If I have to critique something, her hand is too robotic. She needs to relax those knuckles a little bit. But
yeah, I wonder what she's trying to say, like, with the hand motion. It's supposed to be just caught in the middle of something?
oh my.
Her left hand too, though. It's just it's a very
both.
it's a very posy pose. You know,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
seems
But-
like a mannequin or like.
Her body feels fine to me. Her facial expression is interesting enough to me, but the fingers are just so straight.
She needs like the fan or something in her hand to like finish off the whole antebellum kind of look.
You think that hair is real? It's so crazy.
I question if any girl's hair is real these days.
That's true.
I have no idea.
All right, you ready? 3,
Yeah.
2, 1.
I feel like 3 is kind of being harsh because
I feel like it is.
photographically there's so much good here. It's just, I think I'm being persuaded by the genre again. Like this is,
You like don't know what the point is.
I don't know what the point is. Like, if you had a bunch of these images and this was like portraits for the new, what was that show we used to like with the robots? Westworld or something, and you have all the characters. Like, I'm not questioning the photographer's ability at all. This photographer is probably a better photographer than me. It's just this image. I'm like, if I saw this on Instagram or something, like, I wonder who would stop. I don't know that I would, but maybe that's being unfair to the genre and the subject matter. I don't know. It's just, it reminds me so much of like going to the amusement park and then you get dressed up and they take the picture, or when you were kids, they have like the glamour shots in the mall where like the young kids that are like 8 have a portrait taken of them to make them look really old. Like, this doesn't have the cheesy out of focus stuff and all that, but I'm having a harder time to be like, yeah, I want to see more of a portfolio of this.
Next up.
Photography's great.
This is the highest rated image of the entire critique.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I bet you feel kind of similarly to me.
Timu's other image was the girl with the skull.
Yeah. Interesting. A shot with special effects liquid latex scar makeup.
Where, on the right side of his face? Like our left, his right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Like, my mind and I don't really go to that.
I didn't even notice
like,
it either. But it looks good. It looks very real.
Like, isn't that strange if you spent, or you had somebody on set spend that much time on that?
Oh, no.
And at least the two of us can't, like, my mind doesn't even go to that. I mean, your mind and I go straight to his hand with the tattoo, right?
Kind of. It's bouncing back and forth between his face and his hand.
I always struggle with what level or what type of tattoo should be in your photography, because a tattoo can immediately make it feel cheaper or change the subject themselves into like falling in a certain category. If this is supposed to be old images, then you put a really contemporary tattoo on them, it feels off, But then if you see a movie poster with like the perfect tattoo that represents the whole movie, like a snake coming out of the eyelid or something, you're like, oh, that's the villain snake, and it makes sense. But I don't know that I have a strong opinion on whether or not I like this. I mean, this is a pretty cool tattoo, the way it goes around the knuckles and everything. But there's something about seeing a guy with that kind of gritty tattoo on his hand, and then having him dressed really nice. Like, it juxtaposes itself in a way that's not really resonating to me as much.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can articulate that well.
I'm having a hard time putting my finger on what I dislike about this image, but something about it feels just infinitely more amateurish. I'm gonna shoot my dad in my living room than Timu's shot with the girl and the skull. And this is his friend's father-in-law. But when I look at this dude, I'm like, he does have a good look. Now that I noticed the scar, I feel like the scar does look cool. It's something about, he's like too lit or something, or like he's too straight on with the camera. I want him to turn away from the camera a little bit more or something.
I mean, if I put my hand over the lit side of his face and I just look at the left side, and I imagine if the whole right side of the frame was lit that same density or even darker.
Yeah, I think I like that better.
He's given this like evil eye to the right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the light from that opposite side is like softening this up too much. It needs to be more mysterious or more edgy or evil. My eye keeps going to this rim with like whatever smoke filter effect. It just looks so good. Like that little area right there for some
right
reason.
over the top of his hat.
Yeah, just the way that it goes out of focus, but it's got the film grain effect over it. Like, it looks really nice.
I feel like I want more of that throughout the whole image.
Yeah.
It kind of feels disjointed to me. All right, you ready to rate this?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
I'm
going, like, especially when I see this guy's other photo, just this genre and everything about this, it just does not feel like this image fits. It's not the same quality as the girl with the skull.
So here's an interesting exercise that we can do right now. I always talk about like, I don't know, this previous image, like I need to see a full portfolio of it and what would it look like. But here we have this image, and if you put it right next to his other image, you're scrolling through the website and you see the girl with the skull, and then the next thing you see is this guy. I feel like the color grade or something about them, they don't seem cohesive.
Well, yeah, it's two totally different genres. Like, that's fair.
But I think what you were saying is like this would be the first image I'd cut from that portfolio.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the rest of his.
Well, let's click on his name and see if he has any other photos on Fstoppers.
Like he has some.
I mean, he's got some cool stuff.
He's got some really cool images.
Oh, and look at this.
See, I like that image better.
I like that image better too.
It's the shot of him without the hat, but the scar more forward.
Yeah. This guy's got a great portfolio for sure. And his images are kind of all over the place.
This would be, you know, when you went to, I don't know if they still do this. You can go to New York to Photo Plus. Is Photo Plus even a thing anymore?
I don't
it's
even
kind
know.
of morphed into something else. But you used to be able to do these portfolio reviews where you would print a portfolio and you would meet with art directors and art buyers, not photographers, people that are actually looking to hire in New York City, right? And you would go to them and you would say, what do you think of my portfolio? It would be interesting to see him build a portfolio that was a little more narrow than the one he put on Fstoppers, and what the critiques would be. Like, obviously the girl with blood coming out of her eyes is not the same as the girl holding the skull, even though they're both kind of in like a horror drama type of genre.
I like that you call horror.
Horror.
A horror genre. Okay, next up. This image is taken by Chip Wiener. After shooting for a newspaper for 12 years, I met a bunch of creatives. I began a personal project of making portraits of them in their studios and workspaces. This guy's a metal artist and allowed me to shoot in his shop. That's so cool, man. I feel like, you know, if you're trying to become a photographer and you're like, nobody's hiring me, you got to go out and do stuff like this.
Yeah. And in many cases, this will be your best work. Because you are the art director, you're doing exactly what you want. You wouldn't go to this guy if you didn't want to shoot him. You'd be like, yeah, I'll pass. I'll good. And then you get to come up with exactly, you know, what it is you want to display.
But what a unique image as well. You know, like the guy's got a look. The location, incredible. We got fire and sparks. We got baby birds. We're blocking it with the hand. Like, it's another image. There's just so much is going on. It's hard to look away.
All right, I got a few things I think I could say about this, but it's I don't know if they would work. First of all, I understand you're trying to show the whole workspace, but part of me thinks, and you got the frame, right? It's always better to shoot wide so that you can crop later, you know, have options, as you like to say. This one, I want to crop in tighter and just make it all about, you could even put it, you know, you could play with the crop quite a bit, but it needs to be all about the sparks flying, you know, the metal shavings, the bird and him, right? And so, like, the space works well for text, and I think, you know, it's a good decision to shoot it that way, but I think I kind of want to see it tighter. And then there's something about the red gel that I want to see this whole image desaturated like 60% and make it lots of grays and whites, and not spot color necessarily, but you still allow some color on him to kind of force your eye to him. Maybe the whole image is desaturated to 60% and he's desaturated to like 40% or, you know, something. I just feel like...
It does feel like the white balance is a little yellow.
And maybe you could even pull up the clarity and the grunt. Like, you could just make it, maybe sharpening. Like, you know when you make the sharpening like a little too much of a radius? Like, make it to where it just feels like...
dirty.
Well, what were the guys that did the motorcycles when we were in college? The Orange County Chopper Show or something? Like, it feels kind of like that, you know? Like, this is an ad for that store. And this guy's the metal worker, and he's also funny and hilarious, and I immediately want to hear this guy tell a story.
Yeah.
Because if he's doing all this with the bird and stuff, like, he's a character.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just something about the red gel and the yellow. It works, but part of me thinks it could be, like, a little better, and maybe that's desaturating it. I don't know. Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I see what you're saying. It does feel like a little bit too red for me. Did we rate this?
No, we haven't.
3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4. I don't know. somewhere in there. I agree with you. Probably my first critique was the composition. He just feels a little bit too far to the right. I want to zoom in just a little bit. And
How far would you go? Would you just go like that?
Maybe. That's enough.
Yeah, even that. Like, I zoomed in less than I would have, but I like that. I mean, if you see that in somebody's portfolio on this iPad like that, it's going to stop you and be like, man, this guy's cool. Yeah.
And that's it. That wraps up this critique.
So we have 3 prizes to give away. The grand prize is with Westcott. They're giving away 2 full lights. The lighting kit that they're giving away has a JR400, which is the 400 watt per second strobe, and then the JR200, which is the little baby brother of it. So you get 2 strobes and then, you know, some grids and modifiers, all fits in a backpack. So it's kind of like their...
That's first place.
That's first place.
What's second place? Second
place is a full editing suite by DxO. So you get the Photo Lab 7, which is kind of like their version of Lightroom or something. And then you get Film Pack 7, which allows you to do all the different filters. So like I was talking about the bleach look that maybe you would do on this image, you can go through all the film effects.
Okay.
And then they also have one called Viewpoint 4, which I think is more for architecture, but it kind of like really helps straighten out different perspectives and straight lines and stuff like that. And then third place, of course, is a free tutorial at fstoppers.com. So do we want to split up? Do we want to see?
I think we know who got first place.
Okay, and then second place is...
Timu, you get first place, but not forgetting the highest rated image because we don't even really like that one.
Yeah.
We like this one, the girl with the skull. That's the coolest image of the critique, in my opinion. So congratulations, you win the 2 lights from Westcott. Second place, do you want to choose, Patrick?
I'm gonna go with the last image. I think this was like my second favorite image, and I kind of gave a critique where maybe a little film look or something. I could be wrong, but get the DxO software, play with Film Pack 7, and see if there's some slight edit that you can do.
All right, for third place, sometimes we do a random one, but we own the contest. I make the rules. I just want to choose another one that really stood out to me. And this one stood out to me because it utilized something that I thought I hated and I never wanted to see again, spot coloring, Janos or Janos Lakatos. This black and white image of the guy smoking caught both of our attention. So you win a free tutorial from fstoppers.com/store. Everybody who's won, send me, Lee Morris, a private message on Fstoppers. Let me know what you've won and if you want a tutorial, which one you want. And if you would like to be a part of the next critique, you can always head over to fstoppers.com/contest, check out which one's rolling. The one that we're doing right now is unique lighting. Either strobe light, or natural light, but
landscape, portrait, it could be anything, product photography.
We just want you to put thought into the lighting. Check that out, and you can win thousands of dollars in pro photo lighting modifiers, which is pretty nuts.
I don't know if anyone out there is interested in this, but I actually have a gift for you.
You do?
Yeah, I have brought you something that I meant to bring you a long time ago. And here, you can just open up my trash bag.
I think I might know what... Well, no, I don't know what this is.
This is how I wrap my gifts, just in trash bags.
Oh. Do we get...
So like what? Like 4 or 5 months ago, we hit 1 million subscribers, and it was kind of a pain to get the plaques. But this is your gold play button.
How do you get it out of here?
Do you have your silver one back here?
Yeah.
Way up there.
I don't know if I have room for this. I have to put this on the wall. All right. Presented to Fstoppers for passing 1 million subscribers.
How about that?
Congratulations to us. And thank you guys for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, you're probably not going to, but hit that subscribe button and you can see what we have in store in the future.
Good seeing everybody, and we'll see you soon.
See you guys.